a 74-year-old man sat in my office, his hands trembling not from disease but from something far more common and far more silent. He looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't know I was hurting myself." For years, he'd done what millions of men do in private without ever realizing the quiet damage it was doing, and he's not alone. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, a urologist and men's health specialist with over 3 decades of experience, helping older men protect their vitality, intimacy, and dignity. And I'm here to tell you what most doctors won't after 60 masturbation changes. And if you don't adapt, it can quietly affect your body, your mind, and even your manhood. You've been told it's natural, harmless, even healthy. But what if I told you that how you do it matters more than you think? In this video, I'll share 5 critical masturbation secrets that older men wish they'd known sooner. Truths that could preserve your circulation, protect your prostate, and even reignite your confidence. And stay with me until the end, because the final secret could change the way you age, connect, and live for years to come. This conversation might be overdue, but it's not too late before we begin. If you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another honest, age-specific health tip made just for men like you. And if this topic speaks to you, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're here. If it doesn't, type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. Let's begin by uncovering the first truth. A secret that's quietly reshaped the lives of many older men once they finally understood it. Secret 11. Your erection is no longer the whole story, and that's okay. I remember the moment an older gentleman, 72 years old, looked at me with a mixture of frustration and shame and said, "Doc, I can't do what I used to do. Does that mean I'm no longer a man?" That question broke my heart, because it's a belief I hear from so many men who walk into my office quietly, panicking about a change they were never prepared for. They notice things aren't as firm, as fast, or as reliable as they once were, and sadly most of them assume it's the end of their ceithlity altogether. But here's the truth. I wish every man over 60 had learned earlier. Your erection is no longer the whole story, and that's not failure. That's evolution. You see, as we age, our bodies naturally shift. Blood flow slows, hormone levels fluctuate, and nerves take their time. What once seemed automatic now requires patience and intention. But this doesn't mean your satiety is broken. In fact, it can become more meaningful than ever once you stop measuring it by hardness alone. The world you grew up in praised performance, equated masculinity with stamina, and rarely made room for vulnerability. No one pulled you aside to say, "Hey, pleasure still matters, connection still matters." And you don't need a perfect erection to have either. I have had patients who went years believing they were somehow defective when all they needed was a new understanding of how their body was evolving. Many never realized that orgasm and erection are not the same thing. You can still experience deep release, emotional intimacy, and physical satisfaction without the full response you had at 25. But because no one taught us this, so many men suffer in silence, believing they've lost something that was never gone, just changed. What matters now is not performance, but presence. Not pressure, but permission. When you stop chasing what was and start exploring what is, you open the door to a new kind of intimacy, one rooted in patience, curiosity, and self-respect. That's why this first secret is so critical. I've seen lives change when men finally understand they are still whole, still worthy, and still capable of pleasure, even if the path looks different than it used to. And speaking of what most men were never told, let me share the second secret one that dives even deeper. Because what if I told you that masturbation isn't just about seethal, but about emotion, memory, and the quiet way we stay connected to ourselves? What you're about to hear might completely change how you see this act. If you're still watching and these truths are resonating with you, Type the number 1 in the comments to let me know you're still here and still listening. Now, let's continue with the next secret one that may shift the way you see yourself and your body in a whole new light. Secret 2, masturbation. Secret 2 isn't just lethal, it's emotional and neurological. Not long ago, I sat with a retired veteran in his late 70s. His name was Howard. He wasn't there because of a medical emergency. He came in because, in his words, I just don't feel anything anymore. Not just seethly, but in general. At first he thought his struggles were physical, but the more we talked, the more it became clear his habits weren't about desire. They were about something deeper, quieter and more emotional. He had been masturbating almost every night, not out of lust, but as a way to cope. He didn't even realize it had become his way of managing sadness, sleep problems, even loneliness. That moment changed how I saw him and how he saw himself. This is a truth I wish more older men knew sooner. Masturbation in your 60s and beyond isn't just about physical release. It's tied to your brain, your emotions, your nervous system. After orgasm, your body releases powerful chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These chemicals regulate sleep, reduce anxiety, and improve mood for many men, especially those living alone. This simple act becomes a way to reclaim calm connection, even control, but when it's done without awareness, it can slowly turn into something hollow. That's what happened to Howard. The ritual stayed, but the meaning faded. We were raised to be strong, to keep emotions buried, to believe that feeling deeply made us weak. So when the only time you truly let go is in private during a moment of self-touch, that act becomes more than physical, it becomes survival. Yet most men never see it that way. They think they're just holding on to a youthful habit. They don't understand that their bodies are still reaching for peace. Not just pleasure. The danger is not in the act itself, it's in doing it mindlessly. If you're turning to masturbation just to pass time or escape a feeling you haven't named, you may slowly lose the ability to connect with yourself on a deeper level. But when you approach it with intention, with presence, it becomes something healing. It becomes an act of emotional clarity and neurological health. And yes, at your age, that still matters more than ever. Now, if that secret felt surprising, the next one might be even more urgent, because what if I told you that not touching yourself at all, letting that part of you go completely quiet, might be doing more harm than good? What you're about to hear could explain changes in your body that no one ever warned you about. Secret 3, the use it or lose it. Secret 3 rule is real but misunderstood. I remember Roy, clearly he was 74, widowed, and had just started dating again after more than a decade alone. When he came to see me, he wasn't excited. He was ashamed. I finally found someone, he said, but my body, it doesn't work anymore. You could hear the heartbreak in his voice. He thought something was broken. He thought it was too late. But what he didn't know, and what so many older men never hear, is that it wasn't dysfunction. It was disuse. This is a secret I wish every man over 60 could understand sooner. Your sexual function isn't just tied to age, it's tied to activity, just like your muscles weaken without movement. The tissues and blood vessels in your penis respond to how often they're used. When there's no stimulation over time, they slowly begin to atrophy nerve endings, dull, elasticity fades, circulation becomes sluggish, and unfortunately, no one ever tells you this is happening until it already has. Roy hadn't touched himself in years, not because he didn't want to, but because he thought it no longer mattered. Life had dulled his desire. He'd let it go, thinking it was the natural course of aging. But inside his body had been quietly adapting to that neglect, closing doors that could have stayed open with just a little attention. The good news: it wasn't too late with gentle, consistent stimulation. No pressure, just presence. He began to feel things again. It wasn't immediate, but slowly his body remembered, and with it, a piece of his confidence came back to life. So many older men think that unless they have a partner, their sexual health isn't worth maintaining. That belief is not only untrue, it's harmful masturbation. At this stage of life isn't just about pleasure. It's about keeping your systems active, your tissues healthy, and your body engaged in the simple but powerful truth. You still matter, and your body still wants to respond if you give it a chance. But if disuse can create silent damage, what about the opposite? What if the way you are staying sexually active is actually rewiring your brain in the wrong direction? In the next secret, I'll show you something that's become almost invisible in older men's lives. Yet it may be quietly dulling your senses, lowering your drive, and changing how you feel about real intimacy. You'll want to hear this if you're still watching, and these insights are striking a chord. Go ahead and comment the number 1 below to let me know you're with me now. Let's move forward to secret number 41 that reveals a hidden habit, quietly reshaping your desire without you even realizing it. Secret 4. Porn may be destroying secret 4. Your sexual reflexes without you knowing it. Late one evening, I spoke with Ernest, a 68-year-old widower who had been struggling with a loss of sensation. Not just physically, but emotionally. He told me something that I hear far too often. I still touch myself, but I disconnected, like nothing really reaches me anymore. At first, he thought it was just aging, but as we talked more, something became painfully clear. His nightly routine of watching porn, something he'd turned to for comfort and stimulation, had quietly begun to rob him of his ability to feel in real life. This is a secret so many older men wish they knew earlier. As your brain ages, it becomes less flexible, less adaptable, and if you've been using porn as your main form of stimulation for years, your brain may have slowly adapted to that high-intensity, fast-reward input at the cost of real intimacy. Porn triggers an unnatural flood of dopamine, your brain's reward chemical over time. This rewires your system to only respond to extreme visuals and constant novelty. And before you realize it, touch from a real person, or even yourself, feels dull, distant, or simply not enough. What makes this especially dangerous for older men is how gradually it happens. You don't notice it at first, it feels like comfort. But one day, you realize that the images excite you more than actual connection, that your imagination has gone quiet, that your body feels numb, even though your mind still wants to feel. Ernest described it like being locked in a room with the lights on but no windows he could see, but he couldn't connect. We worked together to slowly ease him off that dependency, not by judgment, but through patience, and what happened next surprised even him. Within weeks, he began to feel sensations again. His sensitivity returned, his imagination lit up, all because he stepped away from the screen and started reconnecting with his own body, his breath, and his inner world. I only wish he had started sooner. It could have saved him years of numbness. And now we come to the final secret one that brings all the others together, because after all the silence, shame, and confusion that surrounds this topic, there's something powerful. Older men deserve to know something that could change the way you see yourself and your health forever. Secret 5. Masturbation can be. Secret 5. A lifeline, not a liability. A man named Walter once sat across from me during a routine checkup. He was 75, soft-spoken, and polite toward the end of the visit. He hesitated, then asked, "Doctor, is it still okay to touch myself at this age?" That question stopped me in my tracks, not because it was unusual, but because I'd heard it too many times before. It was laced with embarrassment, like he was confessing to something shameful. But what Walter didn't realize, and what I wish every older man knew sooner, is this masturbation isn't something to hide from at your age. It might be one of the most important acts of self-care you still have. The truth is, masturbation done with intention and presence can support more than just your seethal satisfaction. It keeps your pelvic tissues healthy by encouraging blood flow. It helps your prostate function by clearing out fluids that would otherwise stagnate it. Eases anxiety, boosts mood, and improves sleep through the natural release of calming neurochemicals. But beyond biology, it does something even more vital. It keeps you connected to the part of yourself that still feels, desire, still holds identity, still wants to feel Eli. When Walter's wife passed away, he stopped everything. He believed that chapter of his life was over for nearly 6 years. He hadn't allowed himself a single moment of pleasure. "I thought it was inappropriate," he admitted. "I didn't think I was allowed to still be that kind of man." That sentence stayed with me because I've heard its echo in so many others. We live in a culture that teaches older men to go quietly shrink to stop feeling. But it's a cruel myth because desire doesn't disappear. It just becomes quieter, and if you don't listen, it turns into loneliness. When Walter began to reconnect with himself gently, without pressure, his mood lifted. He slept better. He smiled more. He wasn't chasing youth, he was reclaiming dignity. That's what masturbation can become in later life. Not an escape, but a return, a way to say, "I still matter." And now that you've heard all 5 secrets, there's one final truth that ties it all together. One message that goes beyond science and medicine, straight to the heart of what it means to age with strength, confidence, and self-respect. You won't want to miss this. 5 masturbation secrets old men wish they knew sooner. Conclusion: 5 masturbation secrets old men wish they knew sooner. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you not just for listening, but for having the courage to face a subject most men your age were never given permission to talk about. That alone makes you part of a rare kind of strength, one rooted not in denial, but in understanding. These 5 secrets aren't just bits of medical advice. They're hard-earned truths shaped by real lives, real regrets and real awakenings from men who quietly wish they had known sooner. We began by breaking down the myth that your erection defines your manhood. So many men spend years in quiet panic, not knowing that pleasure and connection are still possible even if the mechanics have changed. Then we explored how masturbation isn't just physical, it's emotional, neurological, deeply human. The kind of act that, when done with awareness, can ground you in ways nothing else can. You saw how disuse isn't harmless. It can slowly cause the body to forget what it once knew so well. But with consistency, presence, and patience, you can help it. Remember, we talked about the hidden cost of porn, the way it reshapes your brain and dulls your response to real connection. And finally, we came to the truth. Most men never hear that masturbation, especially in older age, isn't a source of shame. It can be a lifeline, a way to stay connected to your identity, your body, your sense of being fully alive. I've met countless men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who told me, "I thought this part of my life was over." They believed they had nothing left to feel, nothing left to give. But what I've learned over decades in this field is that desire doesn't retire, it softens, it shifts, but it never disappears. And when you learn to meet your body where it is not where it used to be, you discover something powerful. You are still a man, you are still whole, and you are still deserving. So wherever you are in your journey, single or partnered, active, or just beginning, again, I hope these 5 truths help you reclaim what was never lost. Only waiting to be remembered, your age doesn't disqualify you from feeling touching or healing. In fact, it may be the exact reason you need to start now. If this message spoke to you, even just a little, I want to invite you to be part of something more. Leave a comment below and let me know which of these 5 truths meant the most to you. And if you're ready to keep learning, growing and reclaiming your health with dignity, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I share honest, practical guidance made specifically for men over 60. because your story still matters. You're not invisible. You're not finished. There's so much more life connection and vitality ahead if you're willing to reach for it. And if this video reminded you of someone who needs to hear this, send it to them. You never know how much of a difference a conversation like this can make. Let's keep breaking the silence together. You deserve the truth. You deserve support. And most of all, you deserve to feel alive again.